Hi, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Amanda. And this is The Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast.
This podcast is all about taking action and creating that badass business abundance and life that you want.
Where we share stories, laughs, wins, and epic fails to show you the whole picture of the entrepreneurial journey.
It's not just unicorns and rainbows, people.
Jump on and follow us through this raw and witty roller coaster,
where we get down and dirty and go behind the scenes of life and entrepreneurship.
Get on it,
get over it,
and get after it.
Hey, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Amanda. Welcome to The Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast. We are excited. We are back with another sales and marketing edition of our podcast in honor of our book, The Pursuit of Badasserie, the sales edition. Today we have Jobe Neal. He's a marketing strategist for the Digital Difference Makers. And it's really full circle because we have both been guests on his podcast. And so now we feel like we're collaborating and bringing you on our podcast. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on, guys. It's a pleasure to come back around to the full circle. I'm keen to see what we chat about.
I love it. I love it. So you are a marketing strategist. Can you explain a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, so basically, you've got coaches and consultants, you've got agency owners, analysts, specialists. Yeah, there's lots of terms around there. I probably just say strategist to try and encompass a few of those and keep it clear that what I help people with is really just getting clarity around what they should be doing. And if I can give advice, then I will. So it's not all coaching, but there are times when coaching's appropriate and it's trying to help someone get the answer out of themselves. But yeah, I've kind of found that strategists encompasses that nicely.
Well, I love that term. I use that term for myself. So, because it is about strategy and it is about I know you're very much like this from working together with you, is how to move forward, how to make things happen, how to take action in the best, most succinct or efficient way. And I know that that is something that you really work with your clientele on. One of the things I know I get a lot, and I'm sure Amanda gets a lot, is okay, what's the difference between marketing and sales, and how do they help one another? So would you give your side of that?
Yeah, for sure. I think the best way that I've found to describe it is marketing creates the demand and then sales actually closes the people that are in demand. I think marketing is everything you're doing on the front end to educate people to become aware about how you might be able to help them and their options, and nurture people towards working with you specifically as well. So that when it does get to the sale, it's not like a hard close. I know some people that try and do cold calling and pure sales where it's just they're really just trying to convince someone. Whereas marketing should be getting someone onto that call where they know, okay, I know what you guys do. I know that I need help with this thing, and the way that you guys do it is exactly how I want it done. So what are logistics? Let's just organize how we can get this sorted.
Well, that's good marketing. And you're doing the trust thing, because there's lots of people who, and I think we had this conversation a couple podcasts ago, depending on the lineup that comes out, but our interviews, is that a woman was talking about it, essentially so many people could have a marketing plan. Lots of people don't, but they have a marketing plan, and it's not hurting people into the right direction, with the right, call to actions and things of that nature. So it could be a hot mess. However, it is what you're doing there. It sounds like what a lot of people know is the trust and creating the need. I would also put that in there. And especially when it's done right, I agree with you. It can be such an easy conversion, almost letting them buy. You're almost building a relationship without having that communication with them. You're becoming part of their energy, part of their circle, if you would.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's I've seen people at two ends of the extreme, people that go all their stuff is purely promotional, like buy my stuff, buy my stuff. We've got this 50% discount. It's kind of like all focused on the business or the business owner and what they're going to get out of it. Or like completely down the other end of the spectrum where it's all like vanity metrics and like I met one lady who we were looking over her content and she was like getting tens of thousands of like views and thousands of followers, and she was a business coach, but she was just taking people through like house tours in her thing and how she was gardening and all of that sort of stuff without anything related to business. So it was like, those followers and all of that other stuff wasn't leading. They might like you, but they don't know what you do and they don't trust you. So like we do have to have a strategy to make sure that we're not just putting out stuff for the sake of putting it out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think there's a lot of that. And you see this a lot in social media for sure, like this idea of marketing, advertising, like how much should I put of this? I'm putting too much content. I'm not putting anything that's actually driving people towards a sale. Like if you're talking about butterflies and unicorns, but you're trying to sell, I don't know, fish at a market, random things I'm thinking of. You're not selling anything. Like you're not really marketing yourself to your ideal clients. You're not hitting your target market. You're not really talking about anything other than just a vanity metrics that you're trying to hit. And that's definitely something I see a lot. And, definitely in the last 5 years, for sure, that social media has really reared its head. It's not necessarily an ugly head, but it is a head. I remember when it didn't exist. That's how old I am. Just all you youngins.
Yeah, well, I think that is the temptation, because as soon as you do start getting some likes and views and everything like that, it can be tempting to want to continue to go down that path because it feels right. I've seen a lot of
It's validating.
I've seen a lot
Some
of
way.
male entrepreneurs trying to follow like debates around like masculinity and femininity, and like they've got like a PR business, and it's like, great, you're gonna get a lot of action on that post, but it has nothing to do with your ideal clients. Like, our stuff does not get a lot of views or anything like that, but that's because we're trying to target our niche, so like even if it gets only 100 views, it might get a couple of people reaching out to us, which is, we have to keep in mind that's the goal. Right?
Yeah, I mean, those 100 people that are reaching out, or those 100 people who are seeing it, are actually 100 people who might buy, not like 100 random nothing who will never look at you. You don't want. It's much better to have a concentrated market that's actually interested in what you're doing than 25,000 people who don't.
It's interesting. Yesterday, I'm a content creator for a lot of organizations, and I was doing one for a women's network, and one of the women had got on, essentially this month was about goals, but we got on the conversation about how she threw it out there that she wanted product testers, and she got like 50 responses, 30, 50 responses, and everybody wanted it for free. They wanted this, they wanted that. And so she had to like sift through and say, no, the product's like, you would buy the product, but this is what you would get in return. It would be a discount, etc. And I was like, okay, so you can either throw something out there that's really vague and then sift through the back end, see who's your perfect clientele and like actually do the work behind the scenes. Or you could be really clear up front that, there is going to be a purchase, there's going to be this, these are the expectations. You obviously do it in a way that's appeasing to your target audience. And then you actually get the people who want to do it for the right reasons. So you save time on the back end. And it's really interesting because, talking with you today, like that's exactly like you can set up your marketing, one, to bring in the people, but are you bringing in the right people for the right reasons? And how much time, effort are you having to do on the back end to sift through those, to convert them, to weed through them even?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like I've seen, there's a friend of mine who owns like this coaching business for like young guys, and they'll be like 14 to 19 kind of thing. Brutal business because you've got to market to the parent to make a decision. Then you've got to get the buy-in from the kid, and then in the back end, you've also got to like get buy-in from the parent to do some work as well. And one of the things he was saying with their marketing was they started bringing in way more leads. So they were like doing really well if you just look at the metrics, just look at the numbers from the marketing point of view. But after about 6 months, 8 months, they looked back at all the people they were bringing into the program, and they'd really shifted their ideal client just to fit who was coming in the door. Like they'd nailed down getting lots of people in the door, but they weren't the right type of client. So I think he looked at the numbers, and they went from like, to try and accommodate for these non-ideal clients, they were adding in lots of things to the program to serve them. And I think their margins went down by like, 30, 40%. So they were, earning way, way less, doing a lot more. And it was purely because they were going on the metrics of like, we're getting way more leads and we're getting way more clients. We must be doing well. It wasn't until reflection they sort of went, no, we need to fix up our messaging. We'll get less leads and less clients, but we'll be more profitable, and they'll be the people that we really, really want to work with.
And our time worth value will increase. I love that analogy, because my go-to when you were talking about that is, okay, their conversion rate must be lower because they're getting all of these leads, but essentially they had a good sales team and a sales tactic to close them, but they modified their back end. It's interesting as a consultant myself, like it is interesting to watch clients try to navigate that. And they're like, but I'm getting all of these people who now all of a sudden are like, want X. Well, is that like, and as the saying goes, is that in your zone of genius? Like, is that really what you want to be doing? Or are you going to feel like you're going to be compromising? And I have a really good girlfriend who's kind of like been trying to find her footing again. And she's been swayed by these people because all of a sudden this kind of group has been given her attention. And so she tries to close them. And after a year and a half of this, and she's a high ticket consultant, she's just not happy, and she's not getting the clients that she wants, and they're not staying the way that her old clients did. And so now she's like, okay, I need to scrap what I'm doing because it isn't fitting and it doesn't feel good, and I'm not making the money that I want to make, and they're not getting the return on their investment the same way that I would want them to. So I love that point that you brought up.
Well, it's I've seen a few creators at the moment talking about, focus on one thing and do that thing really well. Which, in a lot of contexts I agree, in some not. And I remember I had, because we really just focus on like two core offers, but it's essentially the same client, and a lot of the times it can be one. So we keep things pretty simple. And I was talking to this guy that I met at a networking meeting who seemed very grab whatever opportunity comes up. Like, he will do web design, he'll do content, he'll do, heaps of stuff. And he said to me like, oh, but I know this white label agency that could do all of the work, and all you need to do is sell these other people and it'd be no extra work for you, and you can make all this money kind of thing. You should definitely do it. And I was like, it's just, we always underestimate the amount of work that goes into starting a new opportunity. There's always other things behind it. And then it's taking away from you really getting exponential returns on focusing on one thing. So then you just you just keep dividing that pie over more and more people, and just gets super, super thin, and eventually you can't eat.
How'd you get started in marketing? What made you decide to start marketing?
So I was studying marketing at university. I was only like a year in, and I was interested in it, but wasn't quite sure if that was where I was going to go down. And I had a friend of mine say to me like, hey, I'm seeing all these people on YouTube, like they're selling products and just making heaps of money. So I was like one of those people that like tried to go down that path, and the whole get rich quick off drop shipping side. So I went and did that with a friend of mine for about 3 or 4 years, which was a great experience because we really just got to cut our teeth on everything marketing, sales, business. Like, um, wasn't what you see on YouTube from these guys of like, you just go pick this product, make a website, and run ads, and
Yeah.
people will buy, and you'll be a millionaire. Um, so I really learned and got into marketing through just pure chance and then trial and error, and just heaps and heaps of trial and error. Like I think we spent about $80,000 before we made back any profit. That was, breaking even on about $80,000, but we were spending a lot of money without any return for like the first year. So that was really my start into marketing.
Ooh, that was an investment.
Yeah.
In time and money. And I think that people forget that, like, and that is slightly different. However, when starting a business and investing, especially if you're not familiar with the terrain, like, there is a lot of investment in your own cash. At least for me, I know for you and Amanda, we bootstrapped businesses, right? And so versus where we live in a world where people won't start their business till they get an investor. And it just, like, actually, I think I had dreams about that last night because I'm in some investor group chats and I'm like, oh, just start your business already. But and all that time, however, you're training it for you two did it in a smart way where you were learning. You weren't just probably being reactive. You were being decisive. You were being strategic. You were looking at the bigger picture, just because we know you a little bit better and know that that's like your MO, right? To like do that. And then that's why you didn't call probably the 80,000 like a loss. You were able to actually break even at that year marker and move forward and start making profit. But it does take time. It does take effort, and it does take financial resources, period.
Yeah, 100%. It takes a lot more time and money than I think we give credit to, like in the beginning, because there is so much stuff out there saying, you only have to put in this amount, or you only have to do this amount of work and it'll come. But like in the beginning, I think it's just, putting in really as much as you can to learn as much as you can. I actually often say to people, like, I think it was a blessing in disguise that we didn't make a lot of money in our first year, because if we had we would have blown it all anyway a little bit later on, and maybe got ourselves in a bad position from over leveraging ourselves, because we just weren't being smart about the money. We were like really confident in our first year that this was just going to kick off and we were going to make, $1 million a month kind of thing. Like that was just the, level of arrogance, I suppose, that we had from, what we'd been shown and what we thought other people were doing, what was normal. So it was, and I've seen other people do the same thing, coming on like sales calls saying they want to do a course, and they'll, they just want to make passive income. And it's just, I don't want to run ads, but I just want to put this course out there, and I'd like to be making, $10,000 a month from just having it out there. It's like, sounds amazing. Why don't we all do that?
Yeah. And there is a lot of that out there that, just this, I think it's the trend right now of, it's not work if it's just follow these steps and then you'll make $20,000 in 1 hour, and then you can retire at 20 years old. And that's a very on trend thing. I see it. I mean, every time I go on any kind of internet related anything, it's get this, get that. You can do it. And it's coming from the standpoint of somebody who has bootstrapped a business, who has had to learn and invest in education and invest in your business. I'm not saying it never happens, because obviously it has. And it takes a lot more work than that. And I think people are just kind of this disillusionment that there isn't any work, that we can all do it so quickly. But there you do need strategy. You do need marketing. You do need advertising. You do need some kind of like system strategy, something in mind. And I think a lot of newer business owners that I've talked to don't see it because they see all of the world telling them that they don't need it, that they just need this one thing or this course or passive income. I mean, I'm not saying that passive income is bad, because I do believe in passive income streams. I'm not saying that those are bad things. I'm just saying that it doesn't always come as easily and as quickly as our brains would imagine. Like, oh yeah, I'll just do this. And like by the end of the year, I'll be making $100,000 just from this one stream. Okay. Well,
they also
not.
Yeah. And it's
action. I mean, you missed that part. They forget to put in the work and the action. Like they set it up and they're like, okay, it's magic. Like everything's going to happen. One of my children was in that kind of mindset. I'm going to be a billionaire. And my son, I love you, son. However, he's definitely evolved since then. And we've had the conversation and not that he wasn't putting in some work, but it wasn't the right work to be able to like, to move. And it wasn't like deep work. It was getting caught up in that. Some of it is a bit generational, but it's also like now it's very, especially since COVID, because everybody's putting out a course or everybody's doing this online stuff, because we had to shift. And like Amanda said, yes, there are those like at the right place at the right time, overnight successes. And we do have more because we're exposed to that since everybody's online. We're able to see that differently. But then there's the millions of people who are still putting in the work who maybe did or didn't succeed. And it's just, it's a very interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Because I always think it's like the people aren't thinking about like the idea behind it as well. Like, or the product itself. Like the friend that I was doing that with, he's still been doing, because I made the shift to an agency and then now obviously doing the strategy stuff. He's still been doing drop shipping this whole time, and has trouble, admittedly, because I think very recently he started to sort of see why I got out of it, because you're not going to make millions of dollars from copying another product and doing something that has low barrier to entry that other people can copy, that other people are already doing. Those overnight successes, I think people often underrate the other circumstances around it that led to its success. It's usually like the underlying concept or idea behind it was really, really good. And then there was also something else behind it that just kicked it off and gave it a huge, jump. Someone that's looking to just start a marketing agency and sees that as the way to, make $1 million without doing a whole lot of work. There's a million marketing agencies, social media managers and all of that. So, course creators, there's all of this sort of stuff. So I think people really underrate what, not just how much work is involved, but how good the offer and the idea needs to be to then execute to make sure that you're doing the right thing behind the right thing.
Absolutely. 100%, and I know we're kind of getting off topic a little bit of the sales and marketing, but I think this is great because I often talk about like, even with those overnight successes or those and I say this with respect, a lot of times they're superficial successes. That means that there's not structure and foundation behind them. So if the wool is pulled out, like if the rug's pulled out from underneath them, they will fall and crash. And you see this all the time with the cancel culture and different things like that. Now, some of them have substance and have the work in the systems, but a lot of these overnight successes, they do not. So they're only on top until the next best thing comes. And they don't have the structure and the even the sales dialogue, the marketing to fall back on, because they've allowed themselves to just sit pretty on top and not build that structure and those foundations. And I think that that's really important, that if you want sustainable, like increasable and scalable income and in a business, then there are things that you have to put into place, that structure and that foundation. And marketing and sales are two of the core things that you need to be focusing on in order to be able to have that will sustain and scale, in my opinion. And we don't put enough effort into it. We don't look at it enough as entrepreneurs, as business owners, or we favor one more than the other, or combine them in the same box, and they're not. They feed into one another, they support one another, but they're not the same.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's a lot of people that try and do like either they fall on like one of either side, like they do heaps and heaps of sales and then don't focus on like better marketing and a better product. And then there's also some people that purely focus on marketing product and never sell the thing, So it really is like getting a good mix of both and making sure that you can't be, particularly when you're starting out, you can't choose to be, just do one of them. You have to be doing all three of those things. It's kind of accepting the fact that you're not as big as you are yet until you've got like not even just like a assistant to start doing content and marketing. It's like up until the point where you've got like the head of marketing that's like someone that you can just trust to do that thing. You never have to go near it again. Like up until that point where you've really got that level of team, you got to be involved in all of it. You got to be prepared to do a lot of it. Like an agency isn't going to save you either. That was like why we got out of it before doing strategy.
Oh, yes.
So
2022 was my hard lesson in hiring some marketing agencies.
yeah,
Thousands
there, done that.
of dollars down the
Zero. Yeah, down the drain. So what would you say is a tip that you have for someone who's looking to improve their marketing? Just an overall couple of your tips.
I think being really clear on how you want to position your offer and knowing where people are in their journey, whether it's customer or client, towards buying the thing. Like I know for a lot of the clients that I work with, they can't just go out there and like start talking about like what they actually help people with because their clients aren't even ready to hear that yet, or that doesn't appeal to them until they've actually like gone through like the transformation work. So like I think just being really clear on what awareness your customer or client needs to have so that you can guide your marketing in that way. Like maybe a majority of your content has to be getting people like aware that there actually is a problem in the first place, not trying to create one that isn't there, but bring to light that there is a problem and what life could look like if they fix that, and what options they actually have. I would say that single-handedly changes a lot of people's like content because then they're thinking from not just what's in it for them, but like what am I putting out there that's in it for my audience and for where they're at, rather than like trying to meet them like at the client level understanding. Like if you can do that, it really transforms all your marketing.
That's a good tip. I think that's something that we forget to do sometimes. We're so interested in like that final result, at least for me, I'm very task and money driven. So you're thinking about that future of this is what I want rather than like how to deconstruct it a little bit and go back to what you really need to be focusing on to get you there.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like Alex Hormozi's done this extremely well where all of his content, everything that he's putting out is to aim to try and get more businesses to that level where he can invest in them and they can come on board. So his problem awareness and solution awareness, like educating style of marketing is like so much further out than a majority of what we all need to do. We're usually like one step away. He's like, 100 kind of thing. But,
Mhm.
I think that's a great example of someone that's putting out so much stuff to get people to the point where they're at the point where they're a client.
Yes, he
Absolutely.
does do a good job of that.
He does. And he's educating. Like that's the whole thing too, like providing value back. And I think that that's something that even though we talk about it, I see it like it's such empty value with a lot of these offers and different things like that. And he does not. He is putting his, putting his money on the line, essentially, his efforts on the line to be able to say, hey, at best, if you're my right client, you're going to end up being my client or, agreement. And at worst, hopefully you are a better business person. And I love that. I love that. That's true value.
It's great messaging. Like I think it even kind of feeds into our last conversation about focus and doing one thing, because like as soon as you try to like serve people on like everything, you almost you kind of make it harder to be able to give stuff away for free, because you're kind of like, oh, but I don't want to teach him how to create a website because I could do the website. Maybe we might get some clients out of that. Or I don't want to teach him how to do content because we want to do their content for them. But like if, for us, like we moved a little bit further away from like helping startups, which has now given us a room within our marketing to just give a lot more away to people that are in that earlier stage of business and actually try to move them from like where they're at to the stage where they can become a client. And I think that's one of the advantages to focusing on your lane is you can give everything else away. And and like ideally that's kind of like funneling people to like the one thing that you can help them with, because then that's the only thing they really have a need for next.
Mhm.
And not only that, but if you're doing that, the client journey is so much more impactful if they've been following you and applying what you've been doing, that it's an incredible experience. And so it's just a different client experience. And also I go back to so I do want to make a comment about something that you just said is like, if you're not ready to like be completely in your lane, but if you do give out free stuff and you are giving out free stuff of value, there are lots of people who will pay to have somebody else do it because they don't want to put forth the time. So keep that in mind too. Do you want the clients who are always going to be, haggling and nitpicking and like, whatever, right? So if you're giving out the superficial stuff and not really getting the clients that are yours, or you're putting out those that are really of value and gaining clients who say, you know what, I love all this value. Only if you're taking those type of clients. I love all this value. However, because I'm the person, like I can do my social media all day long, but if somebody can do it right for me and actually keep it up to date, I'll pay somebody to do it. Right. Well, actually I am, but I'll pay a person to do that, even though I'm very capable. In fact, I get more views when I do it anyway. However, how can we combine it? Because my time worth value is more important. So give me all the value that you can. And 9 times out of 10, I'm going to actually buy from you more, even if you're giving me the how to, the what to do, the everything and how to do that. I'm still going to be a more loyal customer to you than somebody who's giving superficial value. Period.
100%. Yeah. I mean, we're creating a course at the moment, and there was a discussion last week because it's a small course. The discussion was whether or not we do it ourselves or get someone else to do it. I'm like 3/4 of the way through it now. It hasn't taken that long, but at the same time, I just wish we got someone else to do it, because it is like, wow, that's time that, I thought it was going to be quicker. I was wrong. I should have just gone with like the expert to just pay them and like get that time back. And I think that, yeah, if I had a course designer that I was following and they had put out a lot of content that had educated me around the amount of time that takes to create a solid mini course and led me, then I probably would have gone with them. But I hadn't seen one. So I underestimated how much time goes into even putting together a small course. So you're absolutely right. I completely agree.
I love that. We are actually probably a little past due time.
Sorry.
That's all right. Sorry, audience. I know this is a long one. Jobe, it's always, I have a couple of notes. I'm going to be talking to you on the side about doing some more things with Amanda and I, because I feel like we could have our own like mini series with you and talk about all different topics. Just because we complement each other in what we all do. And, you know, especially obviously with the sales book coming out, marketing is such a big aspect of it. And we need to educate more people around the marketing aspect of your sales process, of that bigger process, your business plan. So, how can people get a hold of you?
A few places. You can find me on Facebook, just Jobe Neal. You can add me as a friend. LinkedIn, same. You can find me on TikTok or Instagram. I think Instagram's Jobe Neal _, but I'm sure all the links will be in the show notes. So I won't keep reading out usernames.
Yes, we will absolutely have everything in the show notes. And please, for anybody listening, definitely check him out. He's a wealth of information. Obviously, that's why we have him on the show, but he's really an incredible person to look into and just to have resources from. So I highly recommend you check out the show notes and look into that.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for having me on, guys.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Pleasure, definitely. And yes, everyone, we did get a little off topic of sales, but it stayed in the marketing lane, and it was just a great addition to our sales series with our book coming out. So make sure that you're looking for The Pursuit of Badasserie, the sales edition. We're very excited. All right.
Yes, always, always. Thank you so much. And it's not enough to just listen. You have to put this into action. So everyone, get after it.
All right, everyone, it's not enough to just listen.
Now you've got to put it into action.
We are so excited to see what you do next.
If you enjoyed our show, please leave us a review on iTunes.
And to find out more about what we're doing, visit us at thepursuitofbadasserie.com.